Well, there's only two things certain in this life, death and taxes. Today we're going to discuss Nancy Pelosi's latest tax scam. Welcome to Vantage Point.
Vantage Point is brought to you by American Vision. For more information on today's show, check out God and Government, the 3-volume series by Gary DeMar. You will find it at AmericanVision.com.
Okay, we have Joel McDermott and Gary DeMar here to discuss Nancy Pelosi's latest scheme. So Gary, what do you make of, we've got the Bush tax rates. Are we going to continue those in 2011? That's what's being considered. And what is Nancy Pelosi saying about those?
Well, these tax rates are soon to expire, and of course, if this lame duck Congress doesn't vote on this, all the tax tables and so forth are already in place, and everybody's going to see a hit. And it's not just the taxes for the rich, but it's the taxes for everybody. And so what's happening is the Democrats want to say, well, it's only for people $250,000 and more who will get this tax increase because the tax rates are going to roll back. Nancy Pelosi got up yesterday, and I guess it was December, what is today? We're doing this on the 4th, but this was December 3rd, and said, first of all, giving money, unemployment benefits to people, for every dollar you give in unemployment, the economy benefits by $2. I don't know. She never did quote the person who claimed this is true. She just stated economists said this is an appeal to authority, but never named them. And then the other one was giving a $700 billion tax revenue stream back to the rich never created a job. And this idea of giving money to the rich, the government isn't giving money to the rich unless the government first had the money. Those tax dollars that the people who earn get to keep, that's their money. Government isn't giving it to them, but this is the mentality of government officials.
And how is she defining the rich again?
Well, the rich will be anybody over $250,000.
Right. And that's not somebody making a salary of, well, it may be a person making a salary of $250,000, but if you have a small business that shows $250,000 of profit in a year, instead of that profit being able to go to hire new employees or purchase inventory, it's going to go back to Uncle Sam.
And this is a lot of people don't realize. $250,000, wow, that's a lot of money. Those people ought to pay more money in taxes. But subchapter S corporations and LLCs, people don't realize that if a company, let's say, makes a profit of $250,000 in a year, that company's going to be taxed on that $250,000.
And that may not be cash either, because they may have money in inventory that they haven't sold yet that's considered profit.
Right.
And so you may have to scrape up money. You may not have $250,000 at the end of the year.
Well, right. Now, and again, that $250,000 that an employer, that a company has, he's thinking of the next year. He has to, he needs an emergency fund. He's not like, oh, I've got $250,000 here. I can go spend it all and start the new year with zero.
31st, right.
Especially at a time when the economy is dragging the way it is.
Yeah.
And they want to raise taxes on the very people who provide most of the employment.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, the unemployed do not create jobs. The employed create jobs. People who have a whole bunch of money create jobs. And by letting rich people keep their money, they do a couple of things. They're going to invest more, they're going to save more, and they're probably going to spend on commodities that you and I couldn't afford. Mm-hmm. When American Vision first got the first computer it got in the 1980s, it cost us $7,500 for that computer. It was as big as this table. It had the discs that were this big around that were 360K. Remember, this is $7,500.
Nothing.
That is a nothing computer today. I mean, it's trash. Now, what brought the price of computers down and iPods and big screen TVs and automobiles and so forth were rich people who could afford them at the front end. Mm-hmm. And
well, that and ultra rich people who are venture capitalists
Exactly.
who will invest in risky businesses like that to begin with that they don't know are going to succeed.
right, they have money. They have money to lose. In essence, you and I don't.
Exactly. And if you're going to tax those people more, you're taking away from not only the small businesses and the consumer aspect of it, but also the venture capitalist aspect of it.
I get the one thing that's a little disturbing about this on both the Republican side and the Democrat side, and everybody knows this, and the Republicans know this as well, but the debate isn't framed well enough for me. I believe that this is an ethical issue. The little illustration I've used is if I'm out of a job and I need money, and I go into my neighbor's house and steal money or dip into their bank account through fraud, I'm going to jail. Mm-hmm. If I get an expert like Joel over here who knows how to really tap into somebody's account, and he and I try to do this, he and I do this, we're going to jail.
Right.
If I hire somebody to go and do this, we're going to jail.
Conspiracy.
But if I elect government officials to go into people's bank accounts and take their money out and give it to somebody else, that's called fairness.
Fairness and charity, being liberal.
Yes, being so generous with other
Generosity,
people's money.
yeah, that's right. And of course, the joke is that liberals are only generous with other people's money.
And it's easy to be generous with other people's money.
World.
Yeah,
Right.
they are. It's easy to be generous with other people's money. This is why, well, this is only going to cost $2 billion, or this is only going to cost $1 million, or why bother with these earmarks? It's only so many millions of dollars. It's not their money. It's easy to give it away. Mm-hmm. One of the other illustrations I use is when the difference between renting a car and owning a car, renting a room and owning your own house, how you treat those things. Mm-hmm. You're not as concerned with the room. You know, the towels may be on the floor. You know someone's going to come in and clean up after you and so forth. Ownership has something, does something to the things that you own.
And if you're a landlord of a house that's being rented by someone else, you really know that because the place usually ends up deteriorating, which is why you're allowed to depreciate the value over time.
Mm-hmm.
And also the fact that most landlords require first month,
That's
last month plus a security deposit because they know people are not going to treat their property as well as they would treat their own property.
Now, we were listening to the radio yesterday, and they were discussing people that are on unemployment, tempted to stay on unemployment because they can't get jobs that pay as well as unemployment. Remember this?
Right, right. And this is the thing. They've extended unemployment out to 90 weeks, and the person says, oh, I'm getting X number of dollars a week because of unemployment. Here's a job available over here. I think the illustration was at Barnes & Noble that paid equal to what they were getting on unemployment.
Why would you work for something you don't have to work to get?
Right, and not only that, but then when you go work for Barnes & Noble, they're going to take out Social Security and take out state and local taxes and unemployment and all those types of things. And so these people say, this is a much better deal for me. But, as Gary North always says, you can't change just one thing. And the economy needs to open up. When the economy opens up and people know that by law they're going to be able to keep more of their money, that they will take risks, they will spend, they will get involved in. We're always involved in trying to, let's try this business, let's try that business, but we know the risks on the other side. And so what we have savings over here that we end up having to use in order to accommodate for those risks. Right. And people aren't going to be willing to do that if they know that the government is always out there, wanting to take more and more of their profits, and the incentive to do work just dissipates over time.
Right.
Return for a second to this idea that when the government gives a tax break, it's giving you money. And of course, you already commented on it. It's just taking less than it was going to take before. But this is a typical leftist mindset. Of course, it goes back way, way back. But I read just the other day, there was an article in The Nation magazine, which is about as far left and progressive as you can get. And it was on tax deductions for charitable purposes. And the criticism comes out that the wealthiest people in the nation are giving are using philanthropy as a way to get tax deductions and itemize and get the maximum deductions for that, but look at what they're donating to. They donate to their alma mater, so several $1,000s goes to Harvard, and then to a local museum or a park, and none of it goes to feed the poor. And so therefore we ought to change the tax code so that they're not allowed to exempt, to certain things, for charitable deductions to certain things. And the argument was put forth: who would you rather have deciding where billions of dollars of our tax revenues go? The rich to their pet projects, or to elected officials to take care of the poor and whatnot. And the same mentality's at work there, that the money belongs to the Treasury, but when it's being deducted for tax purposes, that didn't belong to the person originally, it belongs to the Treasury, and so the question is who should get to spend it. It's a little bit vague the way I'm putting it, but the point is the same. Tax money does not belong to the government. In fact, no money belongs to the government. The only way government can get money is by taking it from other people, or by printing it through a central bank, which is essentially taking it from other people, or from borrowing it, but then the debts have to be paid off with interest, and it's the same compounding process. So governments don't have money. They're not, by definition, money-making or money-generating or wealth-generating institutions. They are there for the punishment of crime. And when you mix the power of the purse with the power of the sword, you get these problems that we're talking about today.
And in fact, we saw just over this Christmas season, the Smithsonian puts up this art exhibit, so-called art exhibit.
Yes.
Our tax dollars went for that because we fund the Smithsonian. Now, if you want to, if someone wants, if someone wants an art exhibit, you pay for it. Don't use my money. Don't compel me to do that. I love art. I don't think that's art, but let me make the decision as to what constitutes art with my own money.
That's right.
And of course, what we know is that, and it's not just Democrats. Republicans do it too. They want to stay in power, and one way to stay in power is through the power of the purse. And if we give to this group, we know that this group will be beholden to us. And I think the black community has, hopefully, maybe finding this out. 90% vote, 90 to 98% vote generally for Democrats. Mm-hmm. But there's still black poverty all over the United States. And we have to ask the question, why is that?
If anything, it's worse.
Yeah, and it's because they have really they've created a dependent class of people, and the Democrats have done it. So, a lot more
that goes back to the whole Pelosi idea that putting money, the whole issue she was bringing up was it was about creation of jobs and stimulating the economy. And since when was that the job of government to do those things? But no, the reason she's giving this talk on those subjects on the floor of Congress is because creating jobs and helping the economy are the things that get them reelected. Right. So these are the terms of the debate as far as they're concerned. Right. All they can care about is getting reelected.
And governments cannot create jobs, period. They have no money to create jobs. They have to take money from other people in order to make jobs.
And then they never get rid of those jobs.
They never get rid of them.
Just keep adding them. Well, thank you for joining us on Vantage Point. Please send your questions and comments to vantagepoint@americanvision.org. Thank you.
For more information on today's show, check out God and Government. In this 3-book series, Gary DeMar introduces you to America's true history, discussing the influence of Christianity upon the founding and development of America. He presents a practical approach to developing a biblical perspective of the elements of society, challenging us to re-implement the values and priorities that made America great. Its factual documentation makes it ideal for Christians seeking to discover the truth of America's heritage. You will find this great work at AmericanVision.com.
Two things. Start over. Take 2.
It's 2 things in one. Yeah. It's my bedroom, and it's also my Elvis recording.
My recording studio.